Fans, we are here. We are live. I'm here with Rip Griffin, and we're going to talk about the Houston Astros 4-1 road trip. Of course, it was against the Rangers and the Angels. You expect those kind of results, but what happened in those results, I think, is key. Jose Altuve getting hot. You got on Alvarez back at the plate. That's a great sight to see. Jose Urquidy, we're going to talk about the run support he gets. I'm also going to hit on and ask Rip a question later on if he thinks that Jose Urquidy's run support would justify him getting a starting role in a playoff series. So we got this and Hunter Brown's debut coming up. If you're listening on Monday, it's tonight. Make sure you get there. Locked on Astros starts now.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Astros, your daily Astros podcast. Here are your hosts, Eric the Man Huysman and Brett H-Town Wheelhouse Chancey.
We are Locked on Houston Astros. We're your daily Astros podcast. I'm H-Town Wheelhouse. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at H-Town Wheelhouse. You can find me at Stros411 on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Always positive, always Stros. And Rip, tell the fans where they can find you.
You can follow me on Twitter at RipGriffin3. You can find me also at the Texas Baseball Report, found on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook as well.
Yeah, Rip does some great work over there at Texas Baseball Report. I know you just recently took on a new occupation. You're kind of doing the thing that Eric and I are doing. So congratulations. Welcome to baptism by fire, as we call it in the education world, where you've got kids that you are talking to every day, and that's pretty cool. But, you know, what we want to hit on tonight is the Houston Astros and what's going on with them. I mean, this is a great time to be a Houston Astros fan. And, you know, Rip, we hear all the time about, you know, top teams. You know, a lot of times the top teams get play are the New York teams, are the LA teams. And the Houston Astros have earned every bit of respect. And when I search social media, when I look up and down on the different channels, the Astros are getting more and more run. They're getting more and more publicity. We want to make sure that you make Locked On Astros your first listen every single day. Please check us out on Apple, Google, Spotify, Odyssey, wherever you get your podcasts. And right here, if you're not subscribed, please subscribe and check us out. So we got some things on the docket. We want to start first and foremost. I think a great lead off, I should say, is Jose Altuve. Rip, today he was 3 for 4. He now has an OPS of 901, and he's hitting 292 after 439 at bats. Altuve hasn't finished with a 900 OPS since 2019. And I'm going to preface this conversation with the foundation of reading up on Chandler Rome's article, an excellent write-up. I would encourage y'all to go read it on Jose Altuve and how he had kind of fallen in love with the long ball, how he had gotten away. He was going for average, then he had gotten like hooked on the long ball, and he's gone away from that. And this is what he said. This was, I believe, at the beginning of the season. He said, I think 900 OPS is the new 300 for batting average. I don't want to say I don't want to hit 300. I do. I want to hit 400. But 2019 was my last really, really good season. And so Chandler Rome asked him, said, hey, what has changed? Or what is it about you this year? And he said, I'm looking for more consistency. And I think trying to be productive, walking more, getting on base more, not just trying to hit homers is going to help me a lot. The situation of the game dictates it. Sometimes you get on base, you try to get a runner over. If I just think like that, it's probably going to be better for me and more productive for the team. And when you read this, Rip, it's really exciting because we've been talking about for the last month, Alex Bregman's getting hot. Jose Altuve's getting hot. How important is that for the Astros going into the postseason?
It's key. It's really important because he's the little engine that gets things started there at the top of the lineup. And just for him to kind of take a lot of that pressure off because he's just going up to, like you mentioned, he's looking for that consistency. He's looking to just put the ball in play. And he's been very successful, obviously, because he's I don't even remember what the stat was, but his leadoff home runs, he's getting right up there with George Springer. So when we look at the lineup. So getting him just going, that's the key. When he gets going, the offense follows right behind him. So it's great to see. There's no pressure. He's just out there having fun like he normally does. So great to see. And when October gets here, it's going to be another level for him, like it always is, and he always comes through in the clutch. So it's going to be exciting this last few weeks going into October.
No, yeah, it will. And, I love seeing this, that in August, I looked up his August stats. If you guys have not gotten the StatMuse app, I don't work for them. This isn't a plug that I'm getting paid for, but the StatMuse app is absolutely amazing. And I would say definitely go check it out. But it says right there that he's hitting 330. He hit 330 in August with 33 hits, 3 home runs, 11 RBIs. 19 runs in those 27 games. He also had a 952 OPS in that month. What is amazing about Jose Altuve, and again, we're going to get to Jose Urquidy later on. We're going to get to the 4-1. We're going to get to Jordan being back, David Hensley, and Hunter Brown. So those are things we're all going to talk about later in the show. So please stay tuned and keep watching. Mike Trout and Jose Altuve, let's compare them, mano y mano. Mike
Right.
Trout in hits. So this is since they have hit the major leagues in 2011. In hits, Trout is okay. So if I say Mike Trout and Jose Altuve, who is ranked higher in hits?
Jose Altuve.
Jose Altuve is ranked third with 1,029 hits. I'm sorry, 1,904 hits. Mike Trout, 1,510 hits. Okay. If I say Altuve or Trout, who ranks higher in runs? Who ranks higher?
Mike Trout.
Mike Trout. Mike Trout is, yes, he is definitely, he is, he has 1,029 runs, ranked third. Altuve, 962 runs, 962. All right. So Trout versus Altuve in average.
Altuve definitely has definitely has the higher batting average.
Okay, definitely. Okay, so Altuve is at 306 with number 1 ranking, and Trout is 302, number 5. And so at the end of the day, Jose Altuve has had a better career. And I'm not even going to go to the playoff route, who has more playoff games, because clearly, Mike Trout only has 3. Jose Altuve has 76. Yeah, that's absolutely unbelievable to see. The Houston Astros have one of the best hitters, I think, of all time in their lineup, and he continues to rake. And now he's a man on a mission. He wants another World Series. He's tired of hearing the hate. He's tired of hearing the boos. And I think a couple weeks ago when he lashed out at the pitcher that hit him with Minnesota, and Aaron Sanchez, who doesn't really have a beef with him or a reason to have a beef, but Altuve was like, "Look, I'm here. I'm not going anywhere. So I don't know why you're throwing at me. I will definitely find a way to beat y'all," and that's what he's done. But
Right.
if before we get into anything else, I want to talk to y'all about LinkedIn. As you gear up for the fall, you need the right people on your team to help your small business fire on all cylinders. LinkedIn Jobs is here to make it easier to find people you want to talk to faster and for free. Create a free job post in minutes on LinkedIn Jobs to reach your network and beyond the world's largest professional network of over 810 million people. Then add your job in the purple hashtag hiring frame to your LinkedIn profile to spread the word that you're hiring so your network can help you find the right people to hire. Simple tools like screening questions make it easy to focus on candidates with just the right skills. It's why small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs number 1 in delivering quality hires versus leading competitors. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the candidates you want to talk to faster. Did you know that every week, nearly 40 million job seekers visit LinkedIn? Post your job for free and at linkedin.com/lockedonmlb. That's linkedin.com/lockedonmlb. Post your job for free. Certain conditions apply. So at the end of the day, the Houston Astros have not just Jose Altuve, they have Jose Urquidy. Jose Urquidy, I didn't realize this. He has the highest run support of any pitcher in this system, in this rotation. 6.64 runs average scored against scored in support of him. I mean, that's astounding, isn't it?
That's great, especially as a starting pitcher that you can go out and just pitch, and you know that your offense is going to pick you back up. And it showed today because he was absolutely phenomenal. Kind of exceeded his pitch count that he never really gets to at 111 pitches. But for him just to go out and just to pitch was absolutely phenomenal. 8 strikeouts in 7 innings, only giving up just 1 walk and 4 hits. I mean, the guy's been phenomenal this year. He's 13-5. Definitely a guy going into his next start, especially coming off the start he just had, which he didn't have a great one. So he needed today to kind of just go out there and give it his all. Confidence is going to be there, especially as we get closer into October as well.
Yeah, exactly. And so here's my question, Rip, because I was asked tonight. We got some friends together. We were at Hooters, one of our sponsors. We'll talk about that later in our next break. And it is definitely one of the things that someone asked me, like, who are your three, or who's your rotation? You know, we obviously know Justin Verlander. We also obviously know Framber Valdez, your one and your two. But who's your three and who's your four? Does Urquidy, with the run support he gets, does he garner putting him in the starting rotation over a Christian Javier? Because Lance McCullers more than likely, if he's pitching well, is going to be that third guy. That fourth guy, or do you put Christian Javier in there instead of Jose Urquidy?
I think when you get into the postseason, you've got to go with your four best. And we know Verlander, we know it's Framber, we know it's going to be Lance McCullers. So your keys got to fall into that fourth spot. That's no disrespect to Christian Javier whatsoever, because the guy has been pitching phenomenal, both out of the bullpen, both as a starting pitcher. So, and that's really hard to do because you get into that starter mentality and then boom, you're put into the bullpen, and that might play a little bit with your psyche, but he's handled it very well. But I think when it comes down to it's World Series or bust for this Astros team, and you've got to put your four best in there. And unfortunately, Christian Javier is just on the out looking in.
Yeah, I think he is. Christian Javier has the stuff, though. He's electric, and he has the ability to be a relief pitcher, a solid relief pitcher. We were also talking about, remember how we had the combination of Lance McCullers Jr. and Charlie Morton?
Right.
We don't necessarily have that, but if you were to package two pitchers, and do we dare put Hunter Brown in this conversation? Like, is that a Javier? Because it's not a Javier Garcia. Because when you talk about Morton and when you talk about, hold on, Luis Garcia pitched a hell of a game on Saturday.
Yes.
Now, let's not bury that lead. I mean, how does he get a no decision? How does that team not put up at least 3 runs and win that game? Did you see the way his ball, the way his pitches were moving, his pitch shapes, the degree of drop in his curveballs, just what he was doing out there was magical. So maybe you get someone like a Luis Garcia, and then you bring in a flame-throwing Christian Javier. Maybe that is your 1-2 punch.
Yeah.
Doesn't sound bad, does it?
No, it doesn't. And it worked in 2020 when Dusty went with the piggyback system with Framber and Christian Javier. That could be your 2022, Luis Garcia and your Christian Javier. And the piggyback system will work in the postseason, especially when you've got a bullpen. I mean, the bullpen has been great this year. And if we can limit the amount of use the bullpen gets throughout the postseason, that's going to be the ticket that gets you to that World Series. Is the less taxation on the bullpen, the better off you're going to be.
And that's where someone like Brandon Bielak comes in right now. Having Brandon Bielak right there in the mix, Brandon Bielak can give you 5 innings. Brandon Bielak, and yeah, he gave up a solo shot to Mike Trout, whatever. That's what Mike Trout
right
does.
there, right?
Yeah.
If you're going to give up a bomb, you need to give it up to Mike Trout.
Yeah, give Mike Trout as a solo shot. Hey, nice Rip Griffin show cup there. Way to see Rip is like plugging the show. He's like, hey, I'm gonna get some free plugs. No, but seriously, he has a podcast. He's got Texas Baseball Report. You have to check him out. He's got some good stuff. I've read some of his articles. I really like his work. So let's get to Guy Webster's question here. Do y'all think Javier has taken it personally. In other words, because he's had a few rough outings. Now, I'm going to answer that right off the bat and say I don't think he is. And the reason why I say that is because the way this clubhouse has been designed, number one. Number two, Pete Solomon, who's no longer with Houston Astros at the time, he said that, when he was really getting kind of hot on the scene last year and coming in, he was doing some relieving. He said, I would rather be a major league reliever than a AAA starter.
Right.
So Christian Javier, if it keeps him his job, if he's able to contribute, I don't think that Javier's necessarily going to be upset, because ultimately what's the end goal? It's to win a World Series. It's not to say you started or you relieved. You could be a relief pitcher hero or a starting hero, or you're a relief pitcher dud or a starting dud.
Right.
But Javier, I think, will do what he's supposed to do when he gets that role. I don't think he takes it personally. Like, I think we put more emotion into it than the actual player does. I think the player puts their heart and emotion into different things they can't control. They can't control when Dusty says you're going to the pen, but what you can control is when you get to the pen and how you do it.
Exactly.
Christian Vasquez has been a great addition. His bat is going to play well in the playoffs. Mancini. I mean, this weekend we had Metajevic, contributing. David Hensley got his first, professional RBIs as a hitter. This team is doing well, and they were doing it without Jordan, because Jordan came into a game or he was on the lineup card, then he got scratched, and you're like, what's going on? Everybody's like, why don't they put him on the IL? All this stuff. And then he comes in today, he gets a hit, he gets a couple RBI, he comes in and contributes. And that's what this team is about, is there's no one player that has to go or not go. Look at the Yankees, dude. They're reeling. Aaron Judge is crushing it. Aaron Judge is probably going to get 62 home runs, whatever. But they're not winning, because although it's about the long ball, it is not about as much of that as it is what the team is producing top to bottom.
Right. And they traded away one of their best pitchers. And that's and we're starting to see that with especially with the Yankees, but I mean, it's unfortunate. But when we look at this Astros team, they are set to go very different ways. The lineup can contribute, whether it's 1 through 9 or how it's stacked. So it's going to be one of those things. When you're a Christian Javier and you get moved to the bullpen, it's going to be, you're going to have your time. You've got to be prepared for it, and he will be. I mean, this coaching staff, this pitching staff is very, very well organized, so they know what they need to do, and he'll be ready. I don't think I agree, like you said. I don't think he's going to take it personal.
Exactly. And here's the thing. If you are not able to get to a game, or not able to fly to Anaheim, or able to go to Minute Maid Park to watch like Hunter Brown's Major League debut, I want to tell you there's a great place you can watch it. It's Hooters of Nasa. That's right. It is 20796 Gulf Freeway, just south of Baybrook Mall. If you exit 528 near NASA Parkway, it's in the NASA Value Shopping Center. They've got great wings. The world famous Hooters girls. They've got Hooterades. They've got from 3 to 6. They have specials every day, drink specials. It's called Happy Owl specials. They have 15 plus sauces, 5 dry rubs, anything you want, any kind of wing, boneless, whether it's breaded, boneless, bone in, whatever you want. They have great service. Rosie, she is the manager there. They also have some spots left. I don't know if they have many, but they are going October 2nd to a Houston Astros game, where you can get 5 wings, you get drinks on the way, you get a game ticket coming back, they feed you pizza. Basically, you get a free Uber, you get to hang out with the Hooters girls, and go watch the Houston Astros win in October. So check out Hooters of Nasa. The guys at Locked On Astros, Eric and myself, love eating there. I was just there today with some friends. We watched the Astros win 9-1, and that was so much fun. We had a blast. The food is great. The service is even better. And hanging out with the world famous Hooters girls, you can't go wrong there. So make sure you check out Hooters of Nasa today. All right. So Jose Altuve, he clearly embraces the hate. You see all this stuff going on. Yordan Alvarez comes back. David Hensley gets his RBI. Jose Urquidy pitches well. I mean, there's so many storylines But we would be remiss if we didn't talk about the coming of Hunter Brown. Hunter Brown arriving at Minute Maid Park. And I hearken back to the conversation I had with him after he made the Futures game. I was at Constellation Field that night. They had announced it, and I told him congratulations. I said, "Hey, congratulations on making the Futures game." And he said, "I appreciate it." And I said, because everyone I talk to, whether they're on the show or whether they're just in public, and they say, "Hey, you do Locked On Astros," we start talking Astros baseball. They've got 5 or 10 different scenarios of how you could be on this club in time for the playoffs. And I remember him saying, "I love that I'm in the Futures game, but I want to be pitching at Minute Maid Park, and I hope the Astros see it that way." And he was noticeably frustrated. And even in this presser before or after that Futures game on ESPN, you could tell he was frustrated. But to bring up him and Johnner Diaz up at the same time, Hunter Brown has a chance to make a huge impression. There's going to be a massive crowd there on Monday. And if you're able to get there to see his major league debut, I think it's one of the most anticipated pitching major league debuts that the Astros have had in the last 10 years.
It's going to be very fun to finally watch him pitch at Minute Maid Park on his debut. It doesn't get any more special than that because this guy has actually been lights out this year. He's been at the top of just about every stat there in AAA. When you look at his ERA, 2.55, he was top 10 in wins with 9. Led the entire Pacific Coast League in strikeouts with 134. So I mean, just right there, he's at the top. Not to mention his opponent average at 186. I mean, WHIP 108. So even his win percentage 692. So everything that Hunter Brown has done this year has definitely made the Astros take notice. And to be able to make your debut at home in your home ballpark with your family in the stands, it's going to be absolutely exhilarating for him to get that opportunity finally. I know, like you mentioned, he was frustrated, and he made the Astros make the move, and that's what they did. And he's going to. I hope, I have a feeling he's going to do very well tomorrow, facing the Rangers team that is struggling, obviously, but he's got the run support that he can get there. He's got the defense behind him. It's going to be fun to watch.
No, yeah, definitely. Like Joseph says here, imagine how good the Astros already are in all caps. And then Hunter Brown makes a playoff contribution that helps win the World Series. He is going to be a beast next year as a starter on this team. I'm telling you, if you haven't seen Pitching Ninja, and I think Pitching Ninja did it, maybe Apollo did it. Someone did it recently. Maybe it was Apollo, where they basically put Hunter Brown and overlaid it with Justin Verlander, and they look exactly the same. And I've been talking about that since we talked about him on this show. Is he's emulated his style, the way he throws, the way he jumps off the mound, everything. His leg kick, the way he holds his glove. It looks like a Justin Verlander Jr. And I think Justin Verlander. You would think that with a Justin Verlander being out the way he is, that panic buttons would be going off in Houston. And there doesn't seem to be anybody super concerned because we know it's not a major issue. We know that he will be back. And we've got so many other tools to compensate and wait while he is on the IL while we're waiting on him to come back. So it's definitely, we have a plethora of talent. And you saw that on display versus an inferior Angels team versus a way inferior Rangers team. Rip, I was having some fun on Twitter, and there's an Angels fan I was interacting with, and we were kind of going back and forth, just friendly baseball banter. And what was funny was, I always joke about this, and I don't think I would ever purchase it, but you know how on Fanatics you can go and like customize your own jersey?
Right.
So I made 4 different Mike Trout jerseys, and it has number 27, and I put my own wording. The first jersey, is chasing third. Okay. The second one is not Los Angeles, because they're not, they're in Anaheim. The third one is no pitching. And then the fourth one is wasted career. And I hated making that last one because he chose the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim, or whatever you want to call them now. But to watch someone like Ohtani go out there and do what he did and just unload his tank on the field and throw 100-mile-an-hour pitches in the eighth inning. But to watch Garcia on the other side match him with tenacity and only give up the one run and end up not getting the decision. I mean, they've got two of the most talented players in all of baseball, and they can't seem to put jack crap together. It's got to be a torrid fan experience to be an Angels fan in 2022.
Oh, absolutely. And you have to feel for these guys, especially Mike Trout, who's been the best baseball player in the league for so long, and he can only get into the postseason once, maybe twice. That's it. And it's when you're the Angels and you're Artie Moreno, who you have that money that you can spend. You go out and you spend it on an Anthony Rendon who hasn't done anything because he's been injured. I mean, you go and obviously you didn't learn from your past mistakes when you made these big other key signings. Albert Pujols really didn't do a whole lot when he signed with the Angels, look, they traded him last year, and it's unfortunate because you really need to see these guys go somewhere where they can compete and have the opportunity to play for a World Series, and that's the ultimate goal where every player wants to be, is sitting at the top of that mountain saying, I'm a world champion. I have a ring. And we may not see that from Mike Trout. And that's going to be very hard for baseball. If you're just a general baseball fan, to not be able to see that happen, it's going to be heartbreaking. And hopefully maybe some team can maybe work out a trade to where they,
I can't imagine, Rip, a trade. Okay, if Juan Soto, garnered as much as he did, right? Or these trades that have happened, can you imagine what the Angels are going to want in return for Ohtani? I mean, they might want an entire minor league team for Ohtani because of his value. But right here is something that we don't need to ignore. And it's a great thing that James brings up. James Cook's a regular on the show. And if you're listening, James Cook watches our show. And if you're not watching our show, you should be. Go to youtube.com, subscribe to our channel, and check us out when we go live, or watch us afterwards if you're not able to. Give us a like every time you watch. James Cook says the Astros have been leaving a lot of runners on base and scoring position lately. Yes, they have.
Yeah.
And that is something that they are definitely going to have to reverse a little bit. Now, I'm not worried about it towards the end of the season or it hurting their win total or disrupting where they are over the Yankees, because the Yankees may be in the process of one of the most historic and disastrous collapses of all time. Like, there is a real possibility, Rip, that the Yankees get pushed out of the playoffs. I'm not even lying about that. Or best case scenario, in some scenarios, hardly in the wild card.
Right.
And it's unreal to see. But the Yankees have been exposed, and I don't know if you remember this, but there was an article, I think by ESPN or someone, that said the Yankees were on pace to win 122 games. I'm like, now what is their pace?
Exactly.
It's curtailed quite a bit.
Yeah, no, it's that's what happens when good teams get hot, and then they get hot at the wrong time. And they were hot right there at the All-Star break. And the next thing, that's what a break does. It kind of slows you down and kind of takes away your mojo. But they've had a rough second half. I mean, you're going up basically against AL East teams. I mean, they really haven't done a whole lot against the Rays. The Rays are
they actually won today. So they actually won on Sunday, which allowed them to avoid the sweep. I think the Rays throwing at Donaldson may have changed that dynamic a little bit. Someone's like, why would why don't you just let sleeping dogs lie? Why throw at someone like that just to get the Yankees charged up? Now, I'm not saying that the Yankees won't make the playoffs. I'm not saying that they won't lose their spot, lose their first round bye for sure. but with the way they're playing, it's like, what have you done for me lately, right?
Right.
They have been abysmal. They have been really, I guess, for lack of a better term, a joke. When you got the Orioles hard charging after them, the Orioles are freaking hot. I
Where
mean,
did they come from?
um, yeah, and here's the thing, they've been doing it. Adley Rushman just got his first hit in like 26 at bats or something, or 16 at bats. He was in this big slump. He had a home run. And like they're one of their best prospects has been struggling, and they still keep winning games. So the AL East is interesting because the Yankees and the Orioles and the Rays, they all play each other a whole lot in September.
Yeah, it's definitely a hard way to if you're the Yankees, a hard schedule to kind of power through in September because everybody's expecting you to make October, and I think we're seeing the effects of that trade with Montgomery, and then they lose their key pitcher, and of course Nestor Cortez has been out, so you've got just Garrett Cole and Jameson Taillon, but you can't really rely on Garrett Cole himself because he's had his woes this year. But it's definitely going to be interesting to see what everything or how everything kind of shapes up as we get closer to October. They are definitely playing themselves out of the postseason if they keep it up. And, like the Rays coming in, someone just posted a question about the possibility of the Rays and Astros in the ALCS. That could be a very well possible scenario. It could happen. They've gotten to the division, but they've never reached that pinnacle of the ALCS. So that could be something we can keep an eye on as well. But it's gonna be interesting. The Astros right now, I mean, they're sitting there at 86, right? Is that right? 86 and 48, I think is what the record is. Yeah, 86 and 48. So they are definitely having that top seed there in the American League for home field advantage. So it's gonna be fun these last few weeks.
Yeah, because you have Seattle, who is they are a game and a half up, I guess, in the wild card. I'm trying to read this because this new format throws me off. You got Seattle, Tampa, and Toronto. Baltimore is 2.5 games back. Baltimore could Baltimore could jump Toronto. And
Yeah.
then who knows? Then they wouldn't be that if they jump Toronto, they're right there with Tampa. I mean, you could see Seattle, Baltimore, and Tampa making the wild card. The Yankees have 80 wins. Seattle has 75. Okay, so 5 games is quite a bit at this time of the year. But if they don't play well enough, like you said, with all the pitchers that are out and different things like that, you may see a topsy-turvy American League. In the National League, the Braves. The Braves are literally one game back from the Mets, 85 and 84 wins respectively. And when you look at the National League, the Dodgers with 91 wins. Good Lord, that team plus 289 on
I
run
know.
differential.
Yeah.
The Mets, the Cardinals, who are all division leaders. Then Atlanta, who is 10 games above the second wild card spot in San Diego. So you have right now on the outside looking in Milwaukee and San Francisco. San Francisco is 64 and 68, but they were just in it last year.
Right.
Milwaukee, though, was a lot of people's pick to maybe go to the World Series. Philadelphia was written off early. Philadelphia may be this year's Nationals or Braves. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
And the Braves, I mean, Rip, if there's one team I don't want to play in the World Series, it is the Atlanta Braves because I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure it will rain on a day that we play them and we won't get batting practice and we'll get screwed again. So the Braves have gone back to having our number after we took it back in the 04-05 seasons, whenever Burke hit the home, I guess it was 05 when Burke hit the home run and we kind of got the monkey off our back and we got rid of, but now they're back at being Astros killers. So, hey, let's do this. Let's wrap it up. Hunter Brown in his debut, he will be pitching against the Texas Rangers, a lineup that has no experience against him whatsoever, but a lineup that boasts a Nathaniel Lowe at 305. You got a Matthias who's up and he's in 10 games hitting 387. And then you have Bubba Thompson, who I saw at Constellation Field hit a couple home runs. He had a home run against us last time. Garcia. You've got your Seager, you've got your Simeon. So although it is the Rangers, he still has to face professional hitters. How do you think Hunter Brown does tomorrow in his major league debut?
I think he'll do well. He's already seen them, even though he didn't pitch against them in that 2-game series this past week. So he's got an idea of how to attack these hitters. Now he's going to have to get through the top of the order with Simeon, Seager, and probably Adolis Garcia will probably be there at the top as well. But for the most part, I think if he just sets his fastball, uses his breaking balls for strikes, for strikeouts, I think he'll do well. If he sets everything up the way he should. He's got Martin Maldonado that will be behind the plate tomorrow, so it'll be a good veteran catcher back there that will be able to help him. Kind of just because he knows this Rangers lineup like the back of his hand. So it's gonna be good to have him back there behind the plate. So I think he's gonna do well. Obviously the adrenaline's gonna be flowing. We're probably gonna see him probably overthrow a little bit, kind of be a little bit amped up. But once he gets settled in, I think if he goes 5-6 strong innings, that's a good first start for him.
Yeah, I think so. I think he goes. I think he goes a solid 5 or 6 if he keeps the runs down. If he keeps the walks down. Like you said, his control, keeping the ball in the zone, not trying to reach back and do too much. You wonder if this kid's gonna reach back and try to hit 99 or 100 on the radar gun kind of thing, because those things happen, and you don't want to be what baseball calls, you don't want to overthrow.
Right.
Because when you overthrow, you start bringing in things that you can tweak and mess up. So we hope for a healthy 5 or 6 innings. I want to see 5 or 6 strikeouts at least. Heck, maybe he goes out and dominates and gets 12 strikeouts in his major league debut.
Right, that would be cool too.
That would be ideal. But Hunter Brown is prepared. Like I said, I've met the kid. I've talked to him. I've seen him live. Y'all may have seen him live at Constellation Field. And you may have gotten his autograph and met him. If you have, he's a regular guy. He's a grinder. He's from Michigan. So I expect nothing but the best from the second coming of, maybe I shouldn't say that. This kid wants to be like Justin Verlander. Let's just hope we get Justin Verlander type results in this game. And before we do go, I do need to mention one thing. The Ultimate Pro Fantasy Preview is here once again. So thanks again for making Locked On Texans your first listen every single day, or Locked On Astros. The reason why I said Locked On Texans is because we're talking pro football. Now for your second listen, go out and check out the Ultimate Pro Football Preview 2022, an 8-episode extravaganza to get you ready for the NFL season. The local team experts of the Locked On Podcast Network, plus a betting angle from Lee Sterling of Locked On Bets, all combining into one ultimate football preview. Search the Ultimate Pro Football Preview 2022 on your Audacity app, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcast. So, Rip, any closing thoughts before we call it a night?
That magic number is getting closer to 0. I think the Astros keep winning. Everybody else in the league keeps helping the Astros out. That magic number gets down lower, and the division will be ours very soon.
I love it. I love it. We rule the West. We should be in the Central, but we rule the West. So that's how things are. I believe Eric will be back tomorrow. I hope that everyone listening to this on Labor Day is having a safe and happy Labor Day. I hope you all have had a great long weekend, safe weekend. Rip, thanks for joining us. Please go check out his website, Texas Baseball Report. Check him out on Twitter. Make sure you follow him, interact with him. He's a great guy. He's one of our favorite guys to have on when one of us is out. So from myself, from Rip, and Eric the Man Huysman, who isn't here but will be here again tomorrow, as always, level up your podcast world and check out Locked On Astros. We're your team every single day. Go Stros and good night.